Assalamu alaikum wa
Wa
rahmatullahi
alaikum salam,
wa
brother. Can
barakatuh.
you hear me? How's the mic? I've got the lavalier mic on today, so is it clearer?
Yeah, a bit of an echo. Like when I
Echo.
say something, it echoes again.
Okay, let me put my AirPods on.
Very
How about now?
sensitive. I can hear the traffic outside. And there's a bit of an echo.
Why is this thing? Um,
What's that, some
is
new
it
mic
live?
setup you got?
Yeah, I'm trying to do something new, but let me just change, close the door.
Hold on.
I'll just have to cook in this place. Try to keep the air in. Still got echo?
It's a bit better. Yeah, there is an echo still. Have you got it coming through your speakers?
What about now?
Yeah, yeah. No echo, no, that's fine. That's fine.
So that's nice going straight into the AirPods.
Cool.
Yep.
How you been, Sheikh? How's your
Can
week
you hear me
been?
hear me tap in?
No.
Uh,
I can hear your voice, but I can't hear you tapping.
hello. Okay, that's fine.
That's fine.
Whatever. Let's do this.
Let's
Alhamdulillah.
do this, brother.
Let's do this.
بسم الله الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. كيف حالك شيخ? How's your week been?
It's been okay. Alhamdulillah. I've been preparing for next week's fiqh intensive course, trying to get ready, get everything. Try
Okay.
something new, brother. Trying something new.
Okay. What's this new thing you're doing? What are you doing?
So just doing trying to finish. Actually, let me just show you. Actually, because
Go on.
let me go and get the thing. Let me get the thing. Can you still hear me?
Yep, I can.
Yeah. Wireless mic there. So that's
Okay.
that book there, and this book here, and good enough.
To give us a brief explanation about the course and the aims and
Yeah.
objectives
So
of this
basically,
course.
what we're going through is this is a
Mhm.
book on fiqh. So this has basically all the topics in fiqh, starting from tahara, purification, salah, zakah, fasting, hajj, the usual. But it
Mhm.
goes beyond that. So obviously it includes things like conflict, it includes buying, selling, it includes marriage, divorce, it includes
Okay.
business, it includes judicial system if you can finish it. So my aim is to try and get it done, finished
So
by
it's 2 weeks. Is it 2 week course?
yeah.
How long is it for?
No, not 2 weeks. Sorry, 4 weeks.
4 weeks, 5
Yeah,
days
so
a
it's
week.
5 days a week. So I'm trying to get it intensive. There's 2 hours,
Yes.
to 5 days a week, and also we're
Mhm.
doing one qaida. So this is a small little booklet. It's a poem by Sheikh Abdurrahman Sa'di, which is a teacher of Ibn Taymiyyah. There's a book on what's called, I guess you could translate as fiqh maxims, or rules, general rules that applies to multiple fiqh issues. So
Yes.
we'll be doing half an hour of that and an hour and a half of fiqh every day.
Okay. What are the timings?
So at the moment, the lesson will be from 11 to 1.
Okay.
Some have said they're unable to make that, so we may be doing, or most likely be doing, a restream from about 6 to 8. So if you can't make the 11 to 1 session, you can get the restream at 6 to 8.
Okay. How do you get the restream? You have to log on, or like is a restream? Is it free, or you have to pay? What's that? You have to pay for it as well.
It's the same. It's the same as attending. It's the same as attending. It's just basically
Okay.
a second opportunity to miss what you attended earlier on. I wanted to try and emulate studying as I used to study in Medina. So you actually have to attend to the lesson of the sheikh,
Yes.
and if you missed it, you missed it. That was how it was when I was young. But obviously because the timings is during the daytimes, if you're working and whatnot, it'd be even more difficult. So basically, you can attend or keep up at least in the
Yes.
evenings with the
Okay.
restream.
Okay. So I mean,
And I'm hopefully going to try and get it on the metaverse, brother.
Okay, go for it, brother. Go for it. So if you miss it, I presume there's some log-on system, or they have to access it. How do you get a username and password? Okay.
So the once someone signs up on the website, on the Mother
Yes.
website, then On Sunday, probably afternoon, they'll
Mm-hmm.
receive all the login details and how they
Okay.
access it. So straightforward. We're not going. Ideally, it could all be accessed by web browser,
Okay.
or just a normal messaging app. But like I said,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully be something straightforward. No,
Gotcha.
hopefully be easy, inshallah.
And the start date is when roughly?
Monday coming, bro.
Okay. Good. Good. Good.
Monday coming. So that's something we've been trying to get everything working, the streaming platform working, how we're gonna organize the videos, piece things together, animation, that kind of stuff. So
Is this a new direction you're going in regards to your institute and
not really. I mean, doing lessons
mhm.
and education has always been what I've been doing. But
Yeah.
I guess right now, hopefully I'll have more opportunity to do more rather than be bogged down with admin. I'll get to focus more on actually just doing lessons. That's mainly been the thing that's hindered me most in doing things is just admin and other
Okay.
nonsense stuff, which hopefully won't have to do for much longer. But that's it.
You're gonna what do you call it, streamline and get more into education full time kind of thing.
Yeah. Trying to get that working on. So hopefully this will
Mm-hmm.
this will be like a good, I could say, first trial of
Mm-hmm.
how it would run. And I think
Mm-hmm.
also because there'll be an element to join online as well as on person.
Okay.
It opens up participants. I mean, mainly I've always focused on people attending in person, and
Yes.
obviously what comes with that, people can't attend, it's too far, traveling, and the rest of it. But now having that online element into it as well
Okay.
seems to be working
You're
quite well.
embracing the internet. You're embracing technology now. You got no choice.
I've always embraced technology, but now trying to, I guess, I guess maximizing what COVID has given us, isn't it? COVID gave us streaming.
Yes.
It gave us this basically. That's what we had now. We
Zoom is here to stay, brother.
we even have a student who's joined on from Singapore. So
Okay.
people from far and wide join online lessons. So,
Mm.
but most
Excellent.
importantly, I want to try and get them people to finish the book of fiqh, or at least get a large chunk, because usually you have fiqh lesson starts and it takes years to finish, and
Yes.
whereas it shouldn't have to take too long. You should be able to finish up this time, inshallah. So
How
hopefully.
many pages is the book?
See, it's hard to measure that because there's so many different ways in which the book has been written. But this
Yes.
particular, I mean, even this book here, it looks
Yes.
quite thick. It looks quite thick.
Uh-huh.
But if you actually look at it, one side is Arabic and one side is English. So it's
Okay,
actually
got you.
even probably half of that, really.
Cool.
And the pages are quite thick. So, but I would say a month to a month and a half, the book can be finished.
Okay.
I mean, I taught the book already to one of my private students,
Mm-hmm.
and it took us about a year to complete. And he was just doing
Okay.
it 2 hours a day, 2 hours a session,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
sometimes twice a week, sometimes once a week. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
finished it in a year.
Okay, mashallah. Okay, let's get into the topics are at hand, a discussion
Yeah,
about the realities of life from a Muslim perspective. I think last
realities,
week,
brother.
realities, brother, realities. And I
The
think the
realities.
realities of life right now is throwing up many, many issues. And the current issues, there are many, but we kind of finished last week's discussion on identity.
Hmm.
And it is as if to say people want to rewrite our identities, our natural identities, i.e., you can identify as you said, a cat, or you can identify as a woman if you're a man, etc., etc. And why do you think people are losing their identities? Why is this coming up now? Why are people seem to be trying to muddle up the natural order of things?
Um,
Where does that come from?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. So I mean, I would probably make a very good guess that no one person has the same as in everyone has their own reasons,
Hmm.
and they can't say that everyone's reasons are the same. So, for example, I changed my identity from being a Christian to a Muslim, which came with
Mm-hmm.
that my clothing, my attitude, my behavior, my everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an example of changing of one's identity to the extent that I rejected everything I was before.
Mhm.
to become something which is new. I mean, I remember when I first became Muslim, and I read about the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which he used to sleep on a
Also.
very humble mattress on the floor, not even a mattress, like
Mhm.
And I did the same. I left my bed and went and slept on the floor. And Mum was like, "What are you doing?" And all kinds of so everyone,
Piety, yeah.
everyone,
Mashallah.
that was the zeal that you get when you're a new Muslim. So
Yes.
I think the everyone at some level has a feeling of belonging. They want to belong to something. I think
Mm.
that is there.
Mhm.
Um, and when you become Muslim, we want to belong as part of the Ummah. We want to belong to the Muhajirin and the Ansar. We want to emulate that kind of brotherhood, and when we get that, we latch onto that as well. And
Yes.
I guess others. So there's a word that I heard commonly used on the internet, which is community. So
Mhm.
as in this, there is a large community of X, and I think that keyword is important actually because I think that's what a lot of people are actually searching for, and that is community. So if you find
Mhm.
someone who, for example, at school hasn't really found his or her place in the school, they might find some niche community or a niche fringe part of society that has accepted them, or they do find that they have some acceptance in that community, and then they want to emulate. Um, that again, that could be one of the reasons why people wish to change. So, for example, I don't know if you know, but the people who might be goth, they wear the white face and the black hair and the black thing. I mean, no one's born dressing that way, but they become part of a community. They become part of uh, a clique of people who have similar interests or whatnot, and they also dress the same, and then they become pretty much the same.
Mm.
Um, and I think that is one element. But I think the difference between Muslims or Islam and them is that all of their ways, their turuq, their behaviors are artificial and made up and have no
Mm.
guidance.
Mm.
Whereas Islam has guidance, it has a pathway, and it's up to us to etch out our role in this world using that
Mhm.
guidance. So it
Mhm.
doesn't mean that just because you're Muslim and you're part of a Muslim community that you're necessarily embodying Islam. I mean, you can have deviant communities of Islam, but at least
Mhm.
Islam gives us a criterion of how one should form and fashion a community, what that community
Mhm.
should comprise of, what should be at the core of that community, what should be the most important thing, and how should we rally together, what should be our unifying um, glue that keeps us together. Is it just
Mm.
because we dress the same or listen to the same music, or is it a tawheed? Is it the worship of Allah alone for a greater goal of attaining Jannah? So this
Mhm.
is, I guess, the glue that is the most meaningful glue for a
Mhm.
community that Muslims need to recognize, call to, and make it a part of what they do.
Yeah. Excellent. Although I'm gonna get back to that topic because I was actually we was going to speak about sexual identity, but now we're talking
Hmm.
about the identity of religion.
Hmm.
And I tell you what happened. I think a couple of days ago there is um, there's a YouTube channel called Blogging Theology. Have you seen it?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
an
yeah, yeah,
English
yeah. I
guy.
know, I know, I
English,
know the brother. Yeah, I know the guy.
yes. And he had, although he has embraced Islam, he hasn't lost his English identity.
Hmm.
Do you understand? And I think
Yeah.
what came across there was a discussion between him and I think his name was I got Professor Joe Hayward. Did you see what they're discussing about war and religion? And it was
Hmm.
quite fascinating that there was two Englishmen and mashallah reasonably knowledgeable about Islam, and they didn't lose their English identity. They're very English
Hmm.
people. Do you get what I'm saying? And this is what I
They're
thought
both
was
Muslim or one Muslim, one's Christian?
both Muslim, both Muslim. Although his
Okay.
name is
Hmm.
Joel Hayward, he's a
Yeah.
Muslim. This is the point that came to. This was a point that he didn't change his name to a so-called Arabic name. He remains as
Hmm.
Joel Hayward.
Hmm.
Um, and I think the other guy still his name is Paul. Now, why
Hmm.
this is we're going to go back to the other topic, but I thought that it's amazing that his identity didn't change. And sometimes I think
Hmm.
when people want to embrace Islam, um, they must now identify as, I don't want to say Arabs or ethnic minorities or whatever, but he still remain. They both remain very English,
Hmm.
even though they've embraced Islam. Mashallah, the brother is busy online,
Hmm.
discussing all kinds of topics, and I thought that was quite amazing. And as I said in the last week's podcast, it's a sign of a bright future for Islam, where we find indigenous, English, white people embracing Islam, maintaining their identity, and
Hmm.
to some level doing work. Speaking about Islam. I mean, the topic they were speaking about was war and religion. Speaking about
Hmm.
jihad basically, and
Yeah,
how the
yeah.
Prophet ﷺ, uh, uh, um, um, had a just and the just war. I think it's called the just war policy. But it was very
Hmm.
very it was very good. It was very good lecture. That's what just came to mind about identity. That
Hmm.
Islam can fit any place, anytime, and you don't have to. I keep saying you don't have to lose your culture in order to wear Islam.
Hmm. Yeah,
That was the
so I
point. That's
mean,
what.
the issue of losing one's culture.
Hmm.
Um, so there's two things with that. One of them is that Islam doesn't require you to dress a certain way, look a
Mm.
certain way. I mean, it does require you to behave a certain way, but my point is that doesn't require you to literally doesn't there's no uniform. If that makes sense
Yes.
for a
Yeah.
Muslim. However, there are criteria and our
Hmm.
recommendations that may look like a uniform in a
Hmm.
sense that, okay, if you was an English person and you accepted Islam, can you just continue life as normal as long as you just pray and fast and do the Hajj and everything else, and as long as you just do the Muslim things, can you continue life as where you are? Well,
Mm.
yes and no.
Mm.
So as a Muslim, let's say Bob, a fictional
Mm.
individual who accepted Islam. He was from Roman Catholic or Church of England before, and now he's Sunni Islami Muslim, whatever.
Mm.
What would Bob need to do? Well, the one thing that Bob needs to do is to make his Islam known.
Mm.
So that's one of the reasons why the ulama mentioned things about when you take one's shahada that they're witnesses, so that we know he's Muslim, that his actions are known. And when a person behaves and interacts with the wider community, again, it has to be known that he's Muslim. There has to be some element on him that can be said, okay, that person there, he's Muslim. And his identity, however he dresses, he must dress in a manner which makes it known that he's different from the community. So it's essentially a bara'ah. So when we look at the ayah of Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he mentioned to his people, "Innani bara'un mimma ta'budun," I'm free from what you worship, and he made bara'ah, he made disassociation from them.
Mm.
This disassociation is not just lip service; it's in everything. So
Mhm.
this is where it becomes a bit complicated because people say, "Oh, why do I have to dress as Arab?" Well, you don't have to dress as an Arab, but whatever you do, it must be known that you're Muslim. And it just so
Mhm.
happens that at the moment, the easiest way to do it would be to dress as a typical Muslim would dress in a typical country, whether it be Shawakamis, like from Asian community, or
Mm.
with the lungi, like in the Bangladeshi community, or like you might have it, like the Malaysians have that trouser and lungi as well with the hat. I
Mm.
mean, however you dress, it will be it's highly recommended to identify or do so in a manner which Muslims can and non-Muslims can recognize you. So imagine
But
he
do you
wore
think?
his
I mean, do you
shirt
think that the
and his
UK? Sorry.
trousers.
But do you think the UK should have? I mean, we're in Europe, so your type of clothes is gonna be. It's gonna have to be. It's rain. It's rainy. People's clothing are, you could say, according to the conditions of the weather, something which is
Mhm,
practical.
mhm,
Um, so does the UK have to have its own identity, its so-called Islamic clothes, rather than adopting Asian clothes, Arab clothes, or whatever? Um, why can't the UK have its own so-called Islamic wear, whatever that would be? Does it have to take on? And this is the point. This thing could be a barrier to some people saying, well, "Why am I taking on another
mhm,
people's culture or identity? I'm a British Muslim.
Mhm.
I want to wear jeans and shirt, but I'm just going to wear it baggy. Why cannot that be seen as Islamic wear?
Yeah. So, like I said, however they want to dress, they can
Mm,
dress, as long
mhm,
as when
mhm.
people look at them, they're recognized as Muslims. So, for example, like if you wore a shirt and trousers, but they had a kufi on, then we know you're Muslim. Like much like how the Bosnian brothers were and whatnot, or some of the Turks in Turkey might have their clothes. As long as we can identify you as Muslim, so when I see you and you see me, I say Assalamu alaikum. It used to be the day
Mm.
when we were having a beard was kind of enough, but
Yes,
that's
yes.
not enough
Beards are
anymore.
fashionable now. Mm.
Beards are
Beards are
fashionable now,
fashionable, and
but
also short trousers is fashionable.
yeah,
Having them
yeah.
above
So
the ankle,
beard
that's
and the
normally
short
fashionable.
trousers. That's actually very interesting. How did that happen? How did the hipster movement look pretty much like how we used to dress in
Yes,
the 90s?
yes. Yeah,
How did that
yeah.
happen? But yeah,
Mm,
again, so back to the issue of should we? So the
mm,
analogy I would give is a bit like a smartphone. You
mm,
could just take a smartphone off the shelf, or you could say, why should Muslims use Apple or Samsung? Why don't we make our own brand of smartphone and call it
mm,
the Islami phone? Oh yeah, you could
mm,
do that as well. I mean,
mm,
whether it be good for or not good for, that's another discussion. But you can still do that. There's no reason why
mm,
you can't just use something off the shelf, which is the cultures that already exist around the world,
mm,
any one of them, or you can
mm.
do your own. And I think I've seen a lot of that for a while now. A lot of websites where Muslims have decided to try and design
Yes,
Islamic clothing, but something entirely new. So they're trying to
yes,
combine different elements of different cultures, um, and trying to add a UK flex. So, for example, they might have joggers with a camise, and then they might have
yes.
add the Turkish flair. So the joggers would have a really long crotch area. I mean, whatever.
Mm,
I mean, it doesn't
mm,
matter. I mean, I was actually in UAE, and there was a sports shop, but it was an Islamic sports shop. So all the sports gear was made for Muslims. So even the women's
okay.
clothes, which is sports gear, had like a hijab on top of the sports sweater and all kind of stuff. So it does exist. You can do it.
Mm,
The question is, does it exist? It's hard to find. I mean, there are different websites. I mean, there was one website we went to last year, bought some clothes off of there. You get some good clothes. So they're taking inspiration from Japanese and Chinese culture and mixed it with
mm,
Islamic culture, and they have their own little designs there, and it looks quite neat. Um,
mm,
but like I said, however you want to do it, as long as someone recognizes you as
mm,
Muslim. So I'm
mm.
not saying you must dress as an Arab. I'm saying if you
Yes.
did dress as a thobe or a kundura or shawar kameez or whatever the case may be, that's just an
Mm.
off the shelf dress if you want.
Yeah, make it
Something
easy.
that's
It's
already
really
there and established.
yes,
It's already
yes.
established. It's already there. There's an industry there. There's a whole design lineup already there. Or you can go more
Mm,
niche, try and make your own kind of thing.
mm,
Whichever way it must be done. So it's not like you must be this, must be that. Only thing it must be is it must make mukhalafa. You must make yourself
mm,
different than how you used to be.
mm.
And look at the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Sahaba. They didn't really just find a new fashion. But what they did
Yes,
wear, they wore it differently.
yes, 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 yes.
So even
But do
the
you?
even the turban that they used to wear, they wore the turban differently. Gone.
No, but do you? Maybe I'm overthinking it, but do you think that due to the negative stereotype, it's not even a negative stereotype. Like the indigenous people of the UK, if they see you have a different name, different attire, is that a barrier for them to accept Islam? Or if someone's on a spiritual search, it shouldn't make a difference. Do you get what I'm saying? Um, like for example, you might say Christianity has been Europeanized, even though Isa alayhi salam is an Arab, but the way portrayed in films, blonde hair, blue eyes, he's an European prophet.
Well,
The Europe,
I wouldn't say Esau is an Arab. Arab thing is more to say it's a Semite, not necessarily from the Arab,
yes,
but yeah, it's
yeah,
a Semite. But yeah,
Philistine.
but
Hmm.
in the Middle Eastern basically. But yeah, but what? Yeah, I
Yes.
mean I know what you're saying. You're saying basically one of the ways to remove barriers for entry
Mm.
is to
Hmm.
make it less strange.
Yes. Yes.
But I think that's also the opposite. I can make the opposite case. I can say if you do do what the Europeans have done with their Christianity, you essentially
Mm,
make it meaningless. As in, there's no point in being Muslim because you're exactly why even change? Why even accept Islam? If I'm going
mm,
to, if the end result is the same as what I am now,
mm.
if that makes sense. As in, the whole thing that makes Islam beautiful is its difference from kufr. That's the reason. One of the
Yes,
reasons why we have mukhalafa in Islam is that we're
yes.
showing how Islam is different from what it is,
But
what is there. Go
but
on.
that difference is in the heart, is in belief, not necessarily in our libas, our clothes, or our name, or the different food that we eat. Do you get what I'm saying? Um,
Yes and no. I mean, Ibn Uthaymeen mentions that the external
mhm,
is both a manifestation of the internal
mhm,
and also an effect on the internal. Also has an effect on the
mhm,
internal. And he gave an example of a boy, a child,
mhm,
who wears soldier's uniform. You start seeing that child, this young boy, behave like
mhm.
a soldier. He's doing marching, yes,
Yes,
sir, and that kind of stuff. Why is
yes.
he doing that? Because the clothes on his body indicates how
Mm,
it's influencing his behavior.
got
Likewise,
you.
if a Muslim person dresses like a Muslim, number one, him wanting to dress like a Muslim is a manifestation of him wanting to be Muslim. That's one thing.
Mm,
But on the flip
mm,
side as well, him dressing like a Muslim is a circular. Circular. There's a word for it. Not circular reinforcement, but it reinforces
reinforcement.
it reinforces their behavior. So them dressing like a Muslim makes them
Mm,
make sure that they behave like a Muslim. So imagine they're driving the car and they got a kufi on,
mm,
and someone cuts them up, and they want to get angry, but they remember that if they get angry at them and curse them off, and everyone knows they're Muslim, they might associate that misbehavior with
mm,
Islam. So that will draw them back to behavior. Or for example, as a classic one, maybe there's a brother who before he became Muslim had a problem with women. He's always in the chirps. He's always looking for
mm,
someone else to chat up. But now he's
mhm.
got a shrug kameez, he's got a kameez on, and he'd be like, "Abe, how can you approach
Yes,
this
yes, yeah.
woman,
That barrier.
asking her
Yeah, I
for?"
get you.
Yeah, so the
I
fact that
get you.
he's dressed obviously like a Muslim means that
Mm,
he now has to be on his best behavior. He can't just not go around in his kameez be chatting up girls. It just doesn't add up.
yes.
If he's
Do you
gonna
think? Do you
chat up
think also?
girls, he,
Mhm.
he would actually
Do you think
dress like
name
a
change
normal
is
Muslim.
also essential? Do you think name change is also essential? Essential, and
I
that
mean,
doesn't mean necessarily obligatory.
Islamically, it's not essential.
Mm,
Islamically, it's not
mm,
essential. You don't have to do
mm.
that unless your name is something haram like Christian. And then there are
Yes.
many people out there whose name is Christian and then when they become Muslim, they have to change that.
Mm,
But it's not necessary. But
mhm.
I would definitely would highly recommend that Muslim do change the name to a Muslim name.
Yes.
Again, from the same thing of identity, so that then they they are identified as a Muslim, even if they are not seen. So even if they
Mm,
just read someone just read a register and they saw that guy number 5 is called Yusuf, they know he's Muslim. But at
yes.
least he's supposed to represent Al Islam. And then from that, they look around and they look for the Muslim guy in the room, and then they find Yusuf. So again, identity. Every
Mm,
Muslim is a da'i, is a in caller to Al Islam in his
mhm,
behavior, in his speech, and in his belief system. So yeah, I do believe that Islam is something in the heart, I don't doubt. But
mhm,
again, as Islam teaches us, that internal manifests itself on our tongue, and it
mhm,
manifests itself on our limbs, and you cannot separate these three things from each other. They have to
mm,
go hand in hand. And to be honest, if one is really honest with themselves, really honest with
mhm.
themselves, why would you want to emulate and dress like the enemies of Islam? Why would you
I
want to
mhm,
dress? I mean, for example, can you imagine a Palestinian dressing like a Jew? Can you imagine a Palestinian dressing like a Zionist? Now,
mm,
it'd be ridiculous to say that. Or can you imagine a
mm,
Uyghur dressing like a Chinese person? Can you imagine him doing that? It'd
mm,
be like, why
mm,
would I want to dress like those people who are not just enemies of my people, but enemies of Islam? It doesn't. It
mm.
makes no sense. But
But
when
I
it
think
comes
I
to the
think
issue of
for
God,
yeah, I'm thinking for a British person, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be white. It could be Caribbean, could be Irish or whatever.
could be Indian.
That change
Indian, that's not
could be
white. Could be Indian.
Indian, could be Chinese,
Yeah.
could be whatever. Necessarily to I don't say stick out, but okay. I mean, first of all, obviously the change, the embracing the aqidah, embracing the belief, praying 5 times a day, fasting. That's a internal and an external change. There's going to be a change.
Hmm.
Your daily pattern, your praying, whatever, whatever.
Hmm.
Um, but you might think, okay, well, you have to now put the thobe on. You now have to change your name. I think that will come. I think that will come once the person grows in Islam, but it's not something which is a not sure. Do we call it a condition? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, okay, oh, I'm
Yeah,
gonna stand out from my family. I'm going. Obviously, for the women, it's a bit more difficult in that they have to
obvious. Yeah, because you got the hijab.
wear
Yeah,
the hijabs. You get what I'm saying? Um,
not just the hijab, the jilbab. As in, again,
yes,
another
the
element of the
jilbab.
conversation is the appropriate nature of clothing. I mean, I guess you can say most of what we've been speaking about is more
Hmm.
applicable to men's clothing, because when it comes to
Hmm.
female clothing, then pretty much most of female clothing a Muslim woman couldn't really wear because it's inappropriate.
Yes.
It's revealing, it's tight, which the Islamic teachings says that a woman can't wear clothing that describes her features. So
Hmm.
in that regards, she's gonna have to do something that that allows her to not show her adornments, and that kind of
Yes.
excludes 90% of Western clothing anyway. So I mean, it's easy for me and you men to talk about, why can't I keep on my Muslim my Western dress, because men's clothing is
My
easier.
Levi's 501s. Yeah. Yeah.
It's easier, just get a baggier version and you're done. Whereas female
Yes.
clothing, it's a lot more difficult, and in some ways impossible to
Mm.
really do that. And again, you're gonna have to. And I don't know. I'm not to be corrected, but I don't know how well serviced the the niche British identity female clothing has been done. I know a lot of male clothing
Mm.
out there because again, it's quite easy to make a male version
Yes.
of the joggers, but it's very
Yes.
difficult to Islamify,
Jilbab is jilbab. Yes.
Islamize, to Islamize Western female dress, because
Mm.
short skirts and blouses, you can't really Islamize that, can you? I mean, how do you do that?
Yes. Mm, I suppose whatever they
But
wear
I
under their
guess,
jilbab is
yeah.
whatever what they're wearing, isn't it?
But
Kind
even
of thing.
then, what we're under the jilbab, I mean, okay, they wear that under the jilbab, so that means that when they take the jilbab off amongst themselves,
Yes.
again, we have to study the chapter of libas. What is it appropriate for women to have their chest outdoors amongst themselves?
Uh,
Some of the hib,
mm.
some of the hib might say amongst themselves, a woman's chest is not awra. But
Yes.
from what I've heard in Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, then no, it's not appropriate for women to show what is not normally shown in wudu, even amongst
Mm.
themselves. And there's a
Mm.
wisdom in that, in terms of insecurities and whatnot. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, if a woman feels that she must reveal her skin to fit in, then
Mm.
that's an insecurity that needs addressing. I don't think that's to do with Islam, not Islam. That's just an insecurity that needs addressing. There's no need to naked yourself just
Yeah.
to look good. You could do so in a
Mm.
modest way. And I think that's part of the identity change, or the mental change of Islam, is that you
Yes.
realize I don't need to, excuse the language, haul myself out to look good. I can look good and be modest. I can dress nicely, covered,
Yes.
and look good and fashionable and even pretty amongst themselves if
Mm.
wanted to,
I mean,
without having to expose yourself.
there is this thing of modest wear that's been pushed. Um, and obviously, then that means that okay, well, if we don't wear this clothes, does that mean the others are immodest? Is that we're trying to portray?
I mean,
Is that
what
what we're
one thing I'll
saying?
definitely say in this discussion, especially in the West, is that we should try our best to focus on what we are doing,
Mm.
and not be pointing our fingers at what others are doing. And I think that's one of the traps of this
Mm-hmm.
whole dress discussion, is that sometimes in our attempt to identify as a Muslim, we almost
Mm-hmm.
become a hakim or a judge on other people's clothing. Brother, why are you dressing
Yes.
like that for? Sister, why are you dressing like that for? Why are you doing no, no, no? Now, I mean,
Mm.
you could definitely give advice to people
Yeah.
about about their dress, but the reason why the judgment thing is a bit of a difficult one is because, again, we're not in a society that helps and facilitates such transition or such help or such identity. We're in a
Mm.
society that is the polar opposite. We don't know where a person is in their journey to Islam.
Yes.
Maybe someone's a new Muslim, Just
Mm.
accepted Islam last week. Oh, actually, I'll give you another joke. Actually, when I first became Muslim, I
Yes.
was at I was at a masjid um, near my college, and the brother who first introduced me to Islam, he was wearing a thobe, and
Mm.
there's me wearing my jeans and top and whatnot. And he goes to me, "You be wearing this one day." And I laughed at him. I said, "I'm not wearing a skirt." That's
Yes,
what I said to him,
brother.
because that's where I was at that time.
Mm.
At that time in my life, that's where I was. As I was still in that thing. Now I can't remember the last time I ever wore jeans. I mean, it's been, I mean, over a decade. No, almost 2 years, 20 years now since I wear jeans. So
Yeah.
everyone will get to where they need to get to, and there's no need
Mm-hmm.
to shove it down people's throats. Through education and knowledge, they will get there. And that's why I never
Mm.
really force people to say you must do this, you must do that. Beyond the issue of wearing haram, obviously you can't wear haram clothes.
Mm.
So, for example, for men, an example of haram clothes for men would be like wearing that designer brand called True Religion. That's an example of
Yes.
wearing haram clothes. None of their clothes would be
Mm.
halal to wear. Out of principle, even if it's baggy, out of principle, you can't
Yes.
wear True Religion. Or wearing Versace clothes with the Medusa head on it. Again, you
Mm.
can't be
You
wearing
can't
those
wear
kind of
that.
clothing.
Mm.
So definitely clothing that is outright haram to wear for men, even if they
Yes.
fulfill the criteria of modesty, you still can't wear that.
There's certain
And
things.
likewise, there are certain things you can't wear, and that will
Mm.
be straightforward, brother. You can't wear these anymore. You can't wear that anymore. You can't wear this anymore. You can't wear that Metallica T-shirt with that half decomposed face on your chest. You
What
know
is
Metallica,
that?
those heavy
Have,
metal. You know
ha-
those heavy
yeah, yeah.
metal T-shirts with all
Okay, oh,
those
with skulls and crossbone and
corpses and skulls and that kind
yeah.
of stuff. Yeah, all those stuff. I mean, I think I
Mm.
one guy mentioned it. There's one guy came to the message wearing that, praying in Salah. Like, oh my days! Can you imagine praying behind
Mm.
that?
Mm.
So yeah, there are definitely certain items you can't wear.
Yes.
But again, there are things which is better twos rather than
Hmm. Oh,
thing.
okay. You know you've said a statement. I'm not wearing a skirt, and this goes back to where it started. The case of identity. Now, I work in Whitechapel. I've seen
Mm,
so many men wearing skirts, brother. I ain't even joking with you. I'm not even joking with you. Like this thing of identity, right? Where we
mm,
started from, I feel like men are losing their identity, or this thing
mm,
of identifying. You can identify as what you want, basically, and then I think to myself, who is going to stand for normality? Who's going to say,
mm,
well, okay, this is a man, this is a woman, because the way things are going, I'm talking about like I'm in East London, driving around every day. The amount of men I see dressing up as women is mad, it's crazy.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
why are human beings lost in regards to their identity? Why is it they want to identify as a cat, as you said last week, or want
Mm.
to be a woman, etc., etc.? And why is it now the conversation is, what is a woman? People are
Mm.
confused now. People are stuttering, like, what's a woman? Like, who's going to stand for
I
normality?
mean, aside from that last point you just mentioned there about the question, what is a woman? I think
Mm,
the I think the intelligent part of that question, which I think was hidden from what people were unaware of, what is
mm,
a woman, is down to the issue of identity. So if you
mm,
say I identify as a woman, therefore I am a woman,
mm,
then the question is, what is a woman? Meaning, if you identify as a woman, that means there must be an objective understanding of what a woman is for you
mm,
to then therefore say, I am that.
mm.
And if you affirm that there is such a thing as a woman that you're not, that in and of itself proves that you're not a woman. Did you get this logical argument? One more time.
Yeah.
If you say, I identify as a woman,
Mm,
therefore you, as well as I, acknowledge there is something objectively called a
a
woman
woman.
for
Mm.
me to say I am like that.
Mm.
And if you then therefore affirm that you are that you currently are not that, but you identify as that, therefore you are
How's
affirming that
that?
you are not that. So it's
Mm.
kind of like
Mm.
it's a defeating statement. I identify as a
Yeah.
woman is a defeating statement because that means you
Yes.
identify as something
You're
you
not
are
saying
inherently
He's
not.
not saying. He's not saying I am a woman. He's obviously saying I am a woman. He's not saying. He's saying I identify as a woman. I identify
Yeah.
as
So
that, but
therefore,
he's not
that
saying I am a
statement,
woman. Mm.
yeah. So that statement in of itself proves that you are not what you say you are because
Mm.
you affirm that that thing you identify as is separate from you.
Mm.
Does that
Mm.
make
Mm.
sense? If you
Gotcha.
said
Gotcha.
I am a woman, if this I am like
Mm.
you said, if you said I am a woman, then you say okay, how are you a woman? And then you have to
Mm.
define what this thing is objectively, and then
Mm.
you'll find the fact is they are not. I mean, you were born with different parts, so you can't say
Yes.
you are a woman because if a woman is a being with certain tools and organs, and you don't have
Mm.
that, therefore you're not that. So it was a smart question if one actually contemplates on it on a deeper level.
Yes.
Um, but all of that aside, it comes down to some. I think at some level, come down to insecurities as well.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, just like I think, yeah, it comes at some level, it comes down to insecurities, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
is an extreme example of what we used to have a lot of back in the days in the 90s, for example, where women were insecure of their breasts and
Mm-hmm.
therefore they got enlargements when that became a thing. When that was a thing, they got breast enlargements because they were unhappy with what they
Mm-hmm.
currently had, so they wanted to modify themselves physically to have something
Mm-hmm.
which they don't normally have. And
Mm-hmm.
if you want to go back even further than that, let's go back to the time of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when
So.
people put gaps in their teeth to make themselves look more beautiful because they were unhappy with the way they were currently formed. Obviously, the ability to modify themselves in the past was limited to maybe putting a gap in the teeth or maybe cutting your eyebrows. That's a form of modification.
Mm-hmm.
But as time has gone on and as science has advanced, our abilities as human beings to modify our physical being has
Mm-hmm.
advanced as well. So therefore, now the question is, okay, now I could do more than just put a gap in my teeth. I can now make my teeth
You can do.
like like fangs for like animal fangs, and
Yes. Yes.
I can cut my tongue in half like a snake, and I can do all sorts of stuff. And
Oh,
therefore, the whole idea
subhanallah.
of
You can
the
mutilate. You can
malleability,
mutilate yourself.
mutilate, change, whatever
Yeah.
the case may be, they can now change their body to become whatever their fantasies wish it to be. And I
Mm.
think this is where Islam keeps, by its very nature, Islam keeps mankind grounded.
Yes.
Meaning
Yes. This
that
is the point.
if you look at what Islam, the rules, some of the rules that Islam has given us, some of
Mm-hmm.
these rules are there to keep us grounded and grateful for what we have. So let's take a step
Mm-hmm.
back.
Gotcha.
Let's take a look at some the hijab. What are
Mm-hmm.
some of the wisdoms and the hikam, the virtues of the hijab and modest dress? One of the anyone who's lived any extended period of time, for example, in a country where modesty is not just the norm but it's the law, like for example in let's say Saudi Arabia or Qatar or other places where modesty is dressing immodest can get in trouble basically. Yeah. What you'd find is that people, because they are not exposed constantly to other forms of human beings, then therefore they, I would, from my own experience anyway, there will be less fitna, less trials and tribulations in the home because they're not constantly comparing his wife to the other woman he saw today, this other woman he saw today, and blah blah blah. As in,
Mm.
the exposure to the different, to the other, is not there. Or another example, um, I know when I was in school, when I was in primary school, we used to go to the local swimming baths for swimming. And
Yes.
being in a non-Muslim school, when you get changed, everyone changed in the same cubicle. So
Yeah.
all the men are seeing each other's bits
Mm.
and their private parts. No doubt, everyone's gonna see other people's private parts and think, "Oh wait,
Mm.
Why is my one not like that one? Or why is my one different from all the other ones and whatnot?
Mm,
And therefore we have anxieties. We
mm,
want to now modify, we want to now change. I
mm-hmm,
think, not think, I'm convinced, and I believe that a large part of why women are so deep into these modifications, changing themselves, uh, not just chemically with makeup, but also medically with procedures, is because of things like Instagram and TV, where everyone can just
mm,
do this and do that and change themselves so easily. And now we're seeing people come out on social media saying they had this done, they had their lips done, they had Botox done, they had this done, and that
yes.
everyone wants to do what they did because they can now see the befores and the afters, and
To be
anxiety
different,
now
yeah.
take come. And anxiety now comes into play. I want to be
Mm,
beautiful, like I see that person is beautiful. I want to be like that one person. So that
mm-hmm,
that comes into play. So back to the issue of gender identity, it's just an
mm-hmm,
extension of that. You are no longer happy with what you are. You have some kind of anxiety and with how you physically are, and now you
yes.
want to modify that and change that to something else. What's my
Mm,
evidence for
mm,
that? I mean, you can have there's lots of anecdotal evidence we may
mm,
have ourselves, but one example was this one doctor mentioned how they had a patient came in with their son who said that their
mm-hmm,
son wanted to be a girl and they wanted to speak to psychologists to discover why this is and
yes.
how to help him, whatnot. Anyway, long story short, it turned out that this young boy who was before he was younger than the age of 7, so he's probably about 4 or 5. The reason why he wanted to be a girl was because his parents recently had a baby girl, and that girl was getting all the attention. So in his head, the reason why his sister got the attention was because she was a girl, not because she was new or because she was a baby, but because she was a girl, and he wanted the attention that the baby got, so therefore he wanted to be like a girl. It wasn't that
Mm,
he was unhappy with himself. No, it was a deeper thing. It was a deeper thing, a deeper feeling of want, of a desire of being left out. There are many things that could trigger a person's desire to want to modify themselves. But the point
yes.
is, that's what he wanted to do. And once they
Mm,
identified the reason and he addressed that reason, that desire to want to be a girl went away. He no longer wanted to be a girl
yes.
anymore because he
Yes.
got the attention he wanted and he was happy to be himself. So
Yes.
there are many reasons why a person may want to modify themselves. And I think it's about addressing those, you know, feelings, why they feel that way,
Mm-hmm,
and maybe try and get treatment or help earlier on. I think it's a
mm.
mistake to try and to embrace and say, yeah, yeah, yeah. If you want to be
But
this,
do
then
you
be
think
that.
the more something is publicized, people may just jump on the bandwagon. They may not be happy within
Of
themselves
course,
and think, okay, if I identify as this, then this is the solution to
of course,
my spiritual um, um, or black hole, you might call it. Might just not
of
have any
course.
identity. Let me try this. Let me try that. I mean, funny enough, there was something that came out called the Tavistock Clinic. It just got shut down.
Okay.
Um, basically, they basically do what do you call it? It's a child gender clinics. They deal with children that want to change their
In
gender.
UK
One
or
of
in
the,
America?
in UK, it's part of the
Okay.
NHS, right?
Oh
Taking
wow.
our NHS money to help children change their gender. So what happened was, they found that people that take puberty blockers,
Yeah.
they found that an overwhelming number of them after that want to commit suicide. This is the research that they found,
Hmm.
and it got closed down because of some some shady practices or whatever. But I think the more you facilitate it, the more it's going to happen. Do you get what I'm saying? The more you publicize, you can be what you want, you can do what you want. Then more people are going to jump on the bandwagon.
I mean, I'm going to speculate here as to why the suicide rates went up for these people, and
Mm,
I will speculate the reason to be that they thought the solution to their problem was this, but when they
yes,
got that, they realized it didn't solve their problem,
it wasn't that. Yes, yes, yes.
and then they realized, and then it led them to suicide, as in to
Mm,
escape. from the problem. If me being in this, I mean, think of it this way. Imagine you have such a disdain and detest for your physical being, how you actually look, and you actually went to the doctors, the medical professionals, to make a physical change in your being, and they made that change in your being, and you haven't increased in anything but more disgust in your being.
Yes.
That is literally the recipe for suicide, because it's like your whole being is distasteful and disgusted to you.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, the
I
fact I'm
think
thinking
I would like to.
the fact that they closed down this clinic clearly shows us that dealing with this gender issue for children is a no-go. Like, children will go through so many different emotions and hormones. To say to a child, okay, then if you identify as a girl, then we're going to make you into a girl, and we're going to, like, come on, this is children you're dealing with. And it
I
didn't
mean,
work.
one of
Basically,
the.
whatever facilities they had and whatever they tried to do didn't
Mhm.
benefit those children that they treated, and that's why it was closed down.
I mean, one of the approaches. I mean, there was a video that I'm sure you probably you heard of called "What Is a Woman" by some non-Muslim in America,
Yes,
and
yes.
that was kind of what he was highlighting, some of the issues that they have with
Mm,
these child gender re-changing thing. And brother Daniel Hakikaju, you mentioned a very, 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 very important point about this whole
mm,
discussion, and that it's if we focus too much on the failures of these institutions and these bodies to do what they promise, i.e., change their
mm,
agenda, as being
mm,
the problem, we miss the actual issue here, which is Islamically
mm,
speaking, you are who you are.
mm,
You have been created as a man, therefore you are a man. You have been created as a woman, therefore you are a woman. And it's about embracing who
mm,
you are and what Allah has created you to be. This is our core. So it's not. It's irrelevant whether the procedures was successful or not successful, because maybe in the next 20, 30, 50, or 100 years, you will actually be able to change your gender with zero complication. Maybe they'll be able to actually genetically change your chromosomes from XY to XX, or
mm,
vice versa. Maybe they actually put you to a machine and teleport you from one place to another place and recompose your atoms to make you literally 100% a woman. All that's irrelevant. Even if you could achieve changing your gender
mm,
100%,
mm.
it's still something that you shouldn't do. And
Yes.
this is what we need to focus on as Muslims, as our beginning and end of our discussion. It's irrelevant as to how successful the procedure is. The fact
Mm,
is, Allah created you a certain way,
mm-hmm.
and this is how you are. And it's important as a Muslim to embrace who you are. Just like
Mm.
we say to people, embrace the fact you have no gap in your teeth, or embrace you
Yes.
have your bushy eyebrows, or or embrace that you know that your chest cup size is XY. Embrace who
Mm,
you are, be happy with who you are, and stop looking at other people's awrat, other people's nafs, other people's bodies,
yeah.
other people's what people have. This
Mm,
is actually how we address the issue, by
mm-hmm.
addressing people's anxieties. I mean, it's all of these, and I will put this all underneath one umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
Um, body modification or human modification, whether it be the gap in the teeth, the
Mm.
eyebrow adjustment, the breast enlargement, or the this
Gender,
or the that,
whatever. Mm,
or the gender. All of these things are under the
mm-hmm.
same umbrella and have the same root cause to it. Even to the extent of there's like one, some people they bring as an argument against the transgender ideology. How about those people who psychologically they want to be disabled, they want to remove an arm or remove a leg, and they just dislike the fact that they have two legs or two arms? That's diagnosed as a clinical um, illness, a mental
Then-
illness.
Okay.
But it's the same thing. You're
Mm,
unhappy with what you have decided you want to do. So what you have been
mm,
given. Allah's given you
mm,
two arms, and you're unhappy with what Allah has given you, and you want to change
mm,
that. If again,
mm,
you can give a name for this one, and a name for the ones who want to remove their arms, a name for those who want to change the gender, a name for those who want to
mm,
augment their. But it's all the same root. they're unhappy with what Allah has given them, and one needs to embrace who they are, remove the anxieties, and embrace how they are. So the only thing Islam allows is temporary modification.
Mm-hmm.
The example of using henna, for example, on your
Yes.
arms or not, or like even like dyeing your hair, beard. That's another example
Mm-hmm.
of imagine in the future we were able to genetically alter a person that he now turns black haired again. So he's no longer grey hair. He's grey. He's gone grey.
Yes.
He's able to go to the clinic and they'll put him through a
Take a
machine,
take a drug, and his hair turns
take a
black.
drug,
Or
and his
yeah.
hair turns black again. Could you do
Mm,
that? No. You're
mm.
modifying what you are from what you've normally what Allah has ordained you to be. No.
Okay. Got you.
You can put henna in your beard, but you can't make your hair black again as if you're young again. No. Islam
Yes.
is
Yes. Yes.
against
Yes.
all forms of modification, and we don't target the transgender community. Islam actually is blanket on everyone about every
Mm,
modification.
mm,
Permanent,
mm.
by the way, permanent modification. Um, but back
Oh,
to your
unless it's for a
corrective,
like
unless it's
obviously you might
corrective,
lose. Yeah. 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 Basically, if you lose a leg or
like
something
someone
like that, it's
like
not for beautification. Yeah.
child is yeah, it's like if a
Cleft lip
child
or
was born
something.
with a
Yeah.
cleft lip, what kind of
Yeah.
that's again that's different. That's where the ulama
Mm,
says that's corrective. Or someone who
mm,
has had maybe got cut on the face with a knife, and
mm.
now you have to do a skin graft to repair the damage.
Plastic surgery, whatever.
That's repair. That's not
Mm-hmm.
tajmeel. That's not beautification. I changing you from what you normally are as a normal
Mm,
person to something
mm-hmm.
else.
Yes. Got you.
But I want to dive away slightly from this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But back to your original point, which you mentioned about you saw lots of guys in central London wearing skirts and want to dress like
Mm-hmm.
women.
Mm,
And if you think about that as a topic, not to do
mm.
transgender, but just to do with fashion, that's actually a
Yes.
very interesting thing to think about because I think in all Muslim cultures, I think if you look throughout Muslim cultures across the world, men's clothing and women's clothing are the same.
Mm.
It's just that the women's clothing have been feminized
Yes.
so that you can identify them as feminine. So a shalwar kameez for a man and a shalwar kameez for a woman is
Yes.
still a shalwar
It's the
kameez.
same. Got you.
But the female one is just made feminine. If you go to
Yes.
Morocco, they have the Moroccan thobe thing with the hood, and you have a
Y-
woman with the
y-
Moroccan thobe thing with the
With
hood.
the whole, got
But the
you.
woman's one is feminized. Same thing in
Yes.
Saudi Arabia. The men have a thobe, and women have like a thobe thing. But again,
Yes.
it's feminized with the patterns and whatnot. So
Mm.
um, I don't really think that it's an issue for a man to wear a skirt because
Yes.
essentially a Bengali wears a izar, which is a skirt, really. But
Yes. Yes.
it's what is identified as being female or feminine is the issue, not the actual
Mm.
dress is the issue. So I could wear a kilt, for example.
But
I could
I'm
wear a kilt.
but, but I'm saying it's the addition of makeup. It's the addition of certain clothing which they want to identify as a woman. It's not a case of okay, I want to wear a skirt because as
Yeah.
you know, women,
So
yes,
that's
they
what I'm
say, oh,
saying.
we're wearing a
The issue
skirt, but
is
yes.
the issue is emulating the woman, and that comes back to the
Mm,
hadith of the prohibition of a man to emulate a woman and for a woman to
mm,
emulate a man.
mm.
This is the only criterion that we have, realistically speaking, because we can't just say, oh, a man who wears a skirt is dressing like a woman. No, a man who wears a feminine female skirt dressed like a
Mm.
woman, but a man may wear a kilt, which is not
Yes.
feminine. A kilt is not a woman's
Yes.
dress; it's a man's
Mm,
dress. I
mm,
may say
mm.
it's the same kind of skirt. It's a cloth around. It stops at the knee. It's
Yes.
a skirt, but no, it's for a man. And this is where we
Mm,
need to where I think the discussion it's a nuance, but we need to identify that nuance. For example, imagine a man wore a suit,
mm.
so normal suit, blazer, shirt, trousers, but it was a female cut. So it's a suit, but it's cut for a
Yes.
female. It's actually made for a woman, but he wears it. You would see from the way it fits on him, from the way he's hanging on his
Yes.
body, that he's dressing like a woman. Although technically he's wearing a suit, but he's wearing a female
Mm,
version of that
mm,
suit. Does that make sense?
mhm.
And I think
Yes.
only
Yes.
in Western culture, I think I could be wrong, but in Western culture, we actually had a very stark contrast between a women's dress and a man's dress, where a man wears trousers and a
Mhm.
woman wears a dress. I don't think in Muslim countries we had such a contrast where a man wears one entirely different type of clothing,
Yes,
and
got you.
maybe you do in India because I think
No,
the
same thing.
man's
Surah Kameez kind of
I don't
thing.
know.
Kameez and
No, but
stuff.
I think that women have a sari in India, but I don't know if Muslim women wear
Oh,
saris in India. But
yes.
I get my point. My point is, I think in the Western cultures, and this may be a cultural thing to the West, where you have
Mm.
literally a divide. A man wears men's clothing, and that
Mm-hmm.
is trousers, shirts,
And
and
shirt.
that's a whole different design. And you have
Mm.
female clothing, which is a skirt and a blouse,
Mm-hmm.
and an entirely different
Mm-hmm.
type of clothing on its own. Whereby in their culture, I mean, in the past, when a woman decided to wear trousers, that was not emulating what men normally wear,
Yes.
and that was a very distinct contrast. Whereas, again,
Listen.
in
Mm.
Asian
They say, "Oh,
subcontinent,
who wears the trousers
women,
in your house?" You know that statement. Who wears the trousers in your house?
yes, because trousers
Yeah,
was associated with
with
men. But if we
men,
went to Pakistan, for
masculinity.
example, and said who wears the sirwal in the house, they'd be like, "Well,
Mm.
we all do."
We do. Yes, yes, we both do. Yeah,
But
very
the
true.
women wear the women version, and then when men wear the men version. If I put a female shalwar
Mm.
kameez on, you'd be
Mm.
like, bro, that's a woman's clothes, although it's the same sirwal and kameez. So yeah,
Mm.
basically, in Islam, again, the issue of identity, culturally, men dress a certain way, and culturally, women dress a certain way.
Mm.
I don't think there's something inherently a woman's dress or inherently
Mm.
a man's dress that is determined by the culture.
Mm.
And again, let's call back to the beginning when I first became Muslim and looked at the guy's thobe and I said to him, I'm wearing a dress. Because I was coming from a
Mm.
culture where that clothing is associated with women.
Yes.
And
Got you. Got you. Got
that
you.
clothing was not associated with a man. Flip the
Mm.
switch now. If I was raised in a Muslim country, then I wouldn't have been saying that. So yeah, that's just an interesting side point about
Mm.
that that thing there.
Mm. But just to emphasize that, in Islam, we have clear rules that a man must remain a man and a woman must remain a woman, and it's forbidden to mix the two.
Yes,
And I
but
think,
I would extend that.
go on. Just my
I
point
would
from
say
because
extend that saying a human being must remain how they were created, unless
yes,
for unless a fault has occurred.
mm, mm. I mean, the reality is, I mean, this is the um world that we live in. I'm just there was an interview with Pierce Morgan and Dilly Hussein where Dilly Hussein was speaking about the protests, the LGBT lessons that were given to children. There was protesting and whatever, and Pierce Morgan had the sort of audacity to say, "Well, this is a secular country. If you don't like it, basically go back to where you come from. This is,
Yeah,
and it's like, can we not agree to disagree? Can we not? Because they might say, "Oh, you're transgender phobic or you're whatever," and you might say, "Well, no, I disagree." Are we not allowed to disagree? Because how the interview was on the TV was like, well, okay, this is a secular country. They want to teach transgender issues in public. If you don't like it, go back to your own country. Do you get what I'm saying? That's the kind of corner you kind of pushed into. That, well, if you disagree with a man wearing a skirt, then leave the country. This is England. Um, and sometimes I feel that, like, should we really be talking about this topic? Should we really be pushing? Okay, as a Muslim, a man is a man, and a woman is a woman, and how you're born is how you should stay.
mhm.
What should be our stance? Should we not complain? Should we just say, well, okay, if you don't like it, guys, make hijrah? Or should we be uh, proud and actually seek to help people and say, listen, really, you need to respect Allah's creation and remain as you are? What should our position be in this time of pressure where speaking out as a religious person or even a non-religious person
Can get you cancelled.
can get you cancelled, can get you in trouble, can get you in really in big trouble these days? What
Yeah,
do you
you
think?
lose your job, lose your profession, lose your license, yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah, so um, for a Muslim, we have priorities. And
Mm.
this is something that every Muslim needs to understand and must recognize as being Muslim.
Mm.
We have priorities. Our priority number one is al-Islam, our deen.
Mm.
And that comes before all other things. It comes before our job, comes before our family, comes before everything. And if by that it means we cannot change reality and comply with something which is incorrect for the sake of other than our religion. So if someone says to you, "Do you agree with transgender ideology?" As a Muslim, we're obliged to say no, and we're obliged to
Mm.
say why. And there's no way around it. You can't be political. Say, "Well, you're free to do what you want." I mean, they are free to do what they want because it's not your. You don't have the law of the land. No one's asking you what
Mm.
they can do by the law of this land. We all know what they can do
Mm.
by the law of this land.
Yes.
What they are
Yes.
asking you is what is your view about it,
Yes.
and it's upon you to stipulate your view. So my view is the view of Islam, and that is you are how you have been born, and it's for
Mm.
you to
Yes.
acknowledge that, accept that, and embrace that. Just
Mm.
like every man, Muslim man, embraces the reality that maybe one day he may be forced by virtue of circumstance to engage in combat to defend a country from invasion. Maybe he may be
Mm.
part of a country that's been invaded, and he might be called upon, drafted to
Mm.
defend that nation. That's the
Yes.
same for non-Muslims, even non-Muslims. We might be called to defend that nation from an invading army. That's something that it is what it is. I mean, you can't say, "Oh, well, it's not my fault I was born a man. Why should I be drafted?" That's very just. You almost sound childish. "Oh, mummy, why does he get sweeties? I don't get sweeties." Get
Yes.
over it. Being an
Mm.
adult
Mm.
means acknowledging realities.
Mm.
If you don't want to acknowledge it, that's up to you. But you can't
You're
make
better.
me as well acknowledge join you in this madness. So
Mm.
in terms of ideology, we can't whitewash that. But in terms of our
Mm.
children, as Piers Morgan said, and I think he's in terms of logical fairness.
Mm.
I want to make that caveat. In terms of logical fairness,
Mm-hmm.
he's correct. The law of this land, as established by force, is
Mm.
secularism.
Yes.
If the way this country functions and works is not to your liking, you are
Mm.
free to go to other lands. And
No,
as a
but no.
Muslim,
This is where I
hold on,
disagree.
hold
One
on, hold on,
second.
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on,
Go on.
hold on.
Go
And as
on.
a Muslim
Mm-hmm.
who recognizes that we don't have any sultan or authority in this land to enforce our views,
Mm-hmm.
and if we want to live a life more in line with Islam, where our environment reflects our beliefs, it
Mm-hmm.
is in our best interest to implement the hijrah. If
Yes.
that's what you want to have, you can
Mm-hmm.
remain here. You can remain here, acknowledging how it's becoming and how it is, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to accept what it is. You could try and change certain things, but
Yes.
you're essentially you're swimming upstream. The stream's going one direction,
Yes.
you're swimming the other direction. So it's good
Yes.
luck on swimming upstream.
But you're
You could probably
you're
delay
saying
the
what?
inevitable for some.
You're saying while you're swimming upstream, don't complain. Either go
No,
with
no,
the
no,
flow
no, no,
or get out the
no,
swimming
brother.
pool. I'm saying
No, no,
my
no. I'm
point. My point
saying
is
if you're on a river and a river's
yes,
heading off a waterfall, and you are
yes.
going to fall off the waterfall, there's
Mm,
nothing wrong in swimming upstream
mm,
to delay the inevitable. But
yes.
at some
Okay.
point, you're gonna fall off the edge.
Yes. My my
And I
question
think,
is,
hold on, and I
I'm
think
not
that's very
saying
important for people who have kids
yes,
here and are raising children here. You can delay
yes,
the inevitable as much as possible, but at
yes.
some point, the embers of that coal and the
They'll
smoke
burn you.
from the campfire are gonna come into your household and they're gonna burn you. And when it
Yes.
happens, you're
Agreed.
going to be saying to yourself, why didn't I make the hijrah that Uncle
Mm.
Muawiyah mentioned on the podcast on Saturday morning one day when he said to me, why is he not stream? And the
Yeah.
thing is, and I conclude here, what you don't want to have
Mm.
is to gamble your abilities to swim upstream and use your chips as your children. It's all good
Mm.
and well saying, I can resist the onslaught of
Yes.
madness here, but can
Mm.
your children or your children's children also do the same? Are you willing to bet
mm,
your chips on the table that in the next 2, 3, 4 generations, they are all going to be righteous Muslims like you are, or even better?
mm.
Are you really going to make that gamble?
Nah.
So yeah, Piers
I, I,
Morgan,
get- I get I get I
thanks,
get your
thanks
point.
for
I
making
get
it clear.
Yeah. No, I get your point because he was blatant in his, well, this is a secular country, if you don't like it, get out, basically, right? My
But the
point
thing is, we
is
would say the
this.
same. I think is we would say the same. If a more Muslim came to
No, but
Saudi Arabia
if
and
it's
said, "Yeah, why can't I dress the way I want to dress Saudi Arabia?" We would say, "Well, if you don't like it here, go
yeah,
somewhere else." We would say the
yeah.
same in our country.
No, but I was just gonna say you have a Englishman born and bred, right? Christian, it might be a Jew, or just might be atheist. He also might
Hmm.
say, you know what, I don't want these things taught to my kids because he believes it
Yeah,
should be Adam and Eve, right?
yeah,
He might just, well, he won't, if he's an atheist, he won't believe that, but he just believes best thing is is a man and a woman.
yeah.
So Piers Morgan wouldn't say to him, "Go back to your own country," because he will say, "Well, okay, you're blue, you got a blonde hair, blue eyes, you got a right to speak how you want to speak." But the issue is, if a brown person comes and says, "I don't like this thing," he's going to say to him, "Yeah, you've got another place to go. You can go." I'm talking about the right. We got, we're born and bred here. We're British or whatever. Um, we should be able to what's the not accept what a secular country may say is the norm. Do you get what I'm saying? But I think
Yeah.
society makes it uncomfortable for ethnic minorities to stand up against secularism. If it's an Englishman, he can complain till the cows come home. He can say what no one's going to say to him, go back home. But if you're an ethnic
Hmm.
minority, they say to you, well, okay, there's a place that you could go if you're not happy. But that should not be the case. You should be able to
Swim
put
upstream.
forward your yeah, if you want to swim yeah, it's like saying, yeah, I'm swimming upstream and I'm complaining at the same time. Then people just say, well, could go with the stream then. Like, it's a losing
No, no,
battle.
no. I don't mean that. You can try and
Mm,
swim upstream. You can try and resist the inevitable,
yeah.
but don't
Mm,
expect your swimming upstream is gonna turn the direction of the stream. I mean, what I
no.
think
I'm
Muslims
saying
Muslims
one second.
need to
Isn't it
recognize.
sorry to cut you, Sheikh, but isn't our as Muslims swimming upstream a hujjah, a proof against the rest of society, or isn't it a means of saying to the rest of society, well, Islam is a better way of life for you, and that struggle is maybe a reward for us that we're trying to set an example for mankind, trying to put down what is normality, what is a man, what is a woman, according to God's religion, according to God's way. This is what we should be establishing here. So that swimming upstream, inshallah, bismillah, is something that we can get rewarded for. So, but there, as you said, the issue
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
kid.
yeah.
Mm,
I mean, like I said at the very beginning, there's nothing. There's nothing. What's upon us always is to remain steadfast in our beliefs,
mm.
both
Yes.
when questioned, both in giving da'wah, both in our behavior and when we establish ourselves. All of that, we should need to remain
Mm,
steadfast regardless. But maybe the
mm-hmm.
best way to best analogy, you could use our upstream analogy, is rather than just swimming. Let's get my hand right. Rather than just swimming upstream,
Yes.
maybe what we should do is swim sideways. So we're trying to
Mm,
resist while we're also trying to exit. I think
yes.
that's I don't
Trying to
think we
get to
should
the
just
side.
go
We're
with the
trying to get
flow.
to the side, isn't it? Yeah.
Try and
Yeah.
get to the side so that we can just get off the river and escape the river in the
Yes.
first place. So I think every Muslim, I don't think we should, because what I think we shouldn't do is just
Mm,
try and always resist, as in we have no intention of ever leaving. So we just always
mm,
resisting, and we're still here. No,
mm,
resist, but at the same
mm,
time, we're resisting while we're trying to exit. So we're here for
mm.
a while, we're lobbying, we're rallying, we're getting people involved. But when it comes time to find an exit, we're gone, bro.
Yes. I think
I
that
think
exit
that, and I
strategy.
think what Muslims need to recognize here, and I think what most Muslims struggle to recognize,
Mm,
is that we are actually in the Meccan period.
mm,
We are. We think that we're not because we're not. We haven't got a rock on our chest in the middle of the hot sun saying Ahad, Ahad. We think that
yes.
we're not that kind of level of punishment.
Mm,
But I would prefer that physical punishment than ideological punishment, whereby
okay.
our children are being taught all sorts of madness, and our children are even questioning. They've been gaslighted. They've been told that
Yes.
reality isn't what reality is, and our children are
Yes.
getting confused. And even the cartoons children are watching now, bro. Can you imagine a world now where
Mm.
you can't even watch a cartoon anymore because you have no idea what they're going to drop in a cartoon?
Y- Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it, a cartoon, brother, it's supposed to be for children, but that now that they're
Yes.
pushing it in everything that we do. So yeah,
Yes.
and this is only the beginning, by the way. This is not like it's
Mm.
going to end here.
Mm. Mm.
This is something we witnessed happen in our lifetimes. I mean, we all know how it was in the 90s and the 80s. It wasn't like this.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then the
Yeah.
noughties happened. It wasn't like this. And then all of a sudden, within a decade, we just like a massive shift like this,
Yes.
bro.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Like I said, sideways. We're resisting, but we're trying to exit.
Mm.
Resisting, but we're
Mm.
trying to exit. If no one has an exit
Mm.
plan or a strategy to leave, then all you're doing is trying to either swim upstream or eventually maybe just going along with the stream. I don't know. I mean, even
Yeah.
what the accountant for our institute, he mentioned that he had an interview for Sister for Marriage,
Mm.
hijab, everything,
Yes.
and she was fully on. Yeah, we should support gender identity and gender fluidity and blah, all that kind of stuff
Mm.
with hijab. How did she get this
Yeah.
way? She didn't get this way
Yeah.
because of Saudi Arabia or MBS or because of
Mm.
Iran or she got it because of what's happening right here. What's happening
Yes.
right here, right now. She was exposed to it, and now Muslims are adopting it. And you're gonna be surprised to
Mm.
find out a lot of Muslims are gonna go that way, brother. It's not gonna be a
Mm.
small amount; it's gonna be a lot. And that's when the real challenge happens. No, it's not when they say it, by the way.
Yes.
The challenge for us is
It's
not
when
when they say this stuff; it's when our brothers and sisters
Muslims.
start saying this stuff,
Mm.
and they
Mm.
try to rally and bring this stuff into the masajid. This is when it starts
Mm.
happening. That's why these guys they got a long
But
strategy here. They're trying to catch these children.
do you think that you know, the issue of okay, freedom of speech, we're a secular country, you can say have your beliefs, you know, respect for religion, etc., etc. Is that real? Like, meaning we can have this conversation and we can sit and disagree about it. Maybe someone will say, "Oh, you guys are homophobic. You guys are this. You guys are that." Or from their angle, from a secular angle, yeah, fine. If you want to sit down and have a conversation and disagree with our gender flow issues, and then that's fine. There's a space for you. Is there really a space for us or not? Because if there's not a
How do you mean?
space, meaning you're expected to uh we accept. It's not even, you know, it's not even a done deal. If they want to have teach what do you call it again, gender issues in school, and that's the law. There's nothing you can do about it. What are you going to do? You can protest about it, but again, protesting about it is seen as something which, oh, you're now transphobic. No, no, I just disagree with you. Am I not? Am I allowed to disagree with you or not? Do you get what I'm saying? Are Muslims
In
going
this
to be put in a
society,
position where are Muslims going to be put in a position, or not even just Muslims, Jews, people who don't agree with this and that? No, no,
mhm,
no. This is a government secular position, and you
mhm.
should agree. If you don't
Yeah, that
agree,
is.
you've
I
got
don't.
a
I don't. I
problem.
don't think it's a case of. I don't think the case is going to be the case. I think that's the case. I think that is the case right now. I think that is
Okay.
actually what we're witnessing right now.
Mm,
And I think it's more so than America, because America, they have their ideology of free speech is more. It's real there.
the Constitution. Yeah.
Whereas,
Okay.
sorry, stuff like that. Not that it's real. It's more real there because
Mm-hmm.
England doesn't even claim to have free speech. That's one of the
Okay.
things that I think we have a misunderstanding here because we watch too much American TV. We
Mm,
feel that we have free speech here, and people even say that, but British law doesn't
yeah.
allow you to have free speech here. Your
Mm,
speech is very much limited by the law in this country, and
yes.
saying certain things is considered hate speech and is considered a criminal offense. So
Yes.
it's not that we actually have free speech here. And Islam doesn't even say that. I mean, even Islam doesn't say you must have free speech. Islam itself rejects the idea that everyone is free to say what they
Yeah.
want to say. So it's not
Got
like
you.
it's not like we should raise the banner saying, yeah, we Islam Muslims, we demand our rights to free speech. I mean, you're demanding a
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
which Allah doesn't even give you. You're demanding a
Yes.
right which Allah doesn't even give you in the first place. In a Muslim
Mm,
country, under Muslim law, there will be no free speech as a fact. And any Muslim who has a
yes.
problem with that, needs to go and study Islam and recognize that that's not how it was. That's not how it is. It
Yes.
never was the case, um,
Mhm.
and it can't be the
But
case. You can't.
but here in the UK, free speech is championed to the point where you can um, offend other people. Except some people are ring fenced that you can't offend these people, but we can generally offend 95% of the population. We can disrespect their religion, we can curse them, etc., etc., etc. But there are some issues that are ring fenced. Stiffly can't speak about Jews. We can't speak about the transgender issue.
How do they call it? Protecting people.
Okay. And I'm
So
not.
it's
Trust me,
even
we're
with
not
like
talking.
women, for
When we say
example.
free speech, we're not talking about issue of abuse. We're not talking about, oh, yeah, I'm just going to abuse you. No, I'm talking about, oh,
Mhm.
I disagree with that. I disagree with this. This is my belief. And really, we shouldn't be told if you don't like it, you should go back to your own country. Like, where's the balance?
I mean, I'm not a professional in this whole idea of balancing the laws of the land and how one should
Hmm.
navigate this kind of political minefield. I'm not a professional in that regard, which is why I tend to stay away from that kind of stuff. But I mean, generally speaking,
Yes.
as from wisdom, as taught by
Mm.
Islam, if there are topics that would um, prevent you from doing good, as you could say, and will
Hmm.
cause a greater harm,
Yes.
then just don't do it. Just like
Leave
what's it
them.
called? Like no, for example, like paying your taxes. As much as
Mm.
Islam says that taxation is not allowed,
Mm.
we still pay taxes because if you don't,
You pay the.
you get punished. You pay the price.
Yes.
So
Yes.
similar thing here.
Mm.
Um, if you say certain things on the minbar or say certain things, and you know for a fact you're going to get the masjid closed down or shut down,
Yes.
even if it's the truth, then you're going to have to navigate that
Yes.
in the way that you're going to have to navigate that. Is that an
Mm.
issue of washing out the deen and becoming more mayyit and that
Mm.
kind of stuff? No, it's
Mm.
about I want people to pray 5 times a day. If I say this thing, the
Yes.
masjid is going to get closed down or whatnot, and who knows what's going to
Yes.
happen after that. It's about navigating the situation that you have, and then maybe
Yes.
find avenues to give the truth that doesn't uh, bring the
Cause
same kind of
uproar. Yeah.
cause uproar or
Hmm.
whatnot. So, for example, imagine this is not saying that I do this, but I'm saying what could one could do if imagine on the minbar there's certain topics they can't talk about. They could talk about it on something like this, on this kind of
Hmm.
streaming platform, and you can stream that to on your own private servers so people can still learn and access Deen.
Hmm.
There's lots of things you can do to continue teaching. You just have to
Yes.
navigate what you're allowed to do by the law, and that's just basically what it is. It doesn't mean washing out, but what
Mm.
you can't do though, sorry, what you can't
Mm.
do is say kedib. So things like
Yes.
saying it's okay to identify this and not identify as that. No, it's not okay. And Islam
Yes.
doesn't agree with that. Islam
Mm.
doesn't support this thing. And we can't say we do support it or Islam does support these ideologies. We can't say that.
Yes.
But the worst you could do is just remain silent and say, look,
Yes.
you could say to them, you could just publicly say, you guys, like, imagine you're in a member during the Jummah
Mm.
khutbah and you openly say
Mm.
something like, "Oh, and Ikhwan, you know that we can't talk about these certain things. We can't stipulate Islam's position towards LGBT because if we
Mm.
do, we get shut down. But I'm sure you guys all understand what the stance is. So that's kind of
Mm.
delivering a message without delivering a message. If that makes sense, you're
Being
making it
confronted.
clear.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, you're making it clear that the law prevents you from saying what you want to say, but by
Mm.
saying that, you're still saying it. Does that make sense? You're saying
Yes.
what you shouldn't be saying, but without
Yes.
actually saying it. So that's a kind of a political way of doing it. But again, I'm
Mm.
not the one to ask about how to navigate those kind of things because I have no idea how you would navigate. So I'm more raw and just take things as it is. But I understand how people who are have a lot of responsibilities in the community and I'll say they
Yes.
might need to figure out how we were gonna navigate this path
Mm.
in a different
Mm.
way. But like I said, it's up to the individual. But definitely on an individual level, where
Yes.
their livelihoods, their
Mm.
lives are not at risk, then there's
Mm.
no reason to remain silent. So if you're just a bus driver, and someone
Mm.
asks you what's your view, and you're not gonna get fired for your job, or even if you get fired, but look,
You
you
might
say
still
it,
get
you get.
fired. This is the
Oh
point. You
no,
might be in the
I
cafe.
can't.
You might be in the cafeteria and having a cup of tea with someone. Someone asks you about what do you think about this trend thing. You said, "No, no, I'm not down with that." Next
I
minute, the
don't
man
think you
report you
can.
to the
I don't think
manager
the
and you
law.
get sacked. Mm,
I don't think the law can fire you for having a view as a bus driver. I mean, I think the idea of losing your job is more to do with more to do with job roles that
yes.
have influence, like a teacher.
Mm,
So if a teacher
mm,
had such a view, I can understand why a school would want to get rid of you. I'm not sure if they
mm,
can get rid of you if you haven't broken the law, but I can see why they would want to get rid of you because you're in a position of influence over the students and you
yes.
have these views, so they want to get rid of you. But a bus driver, you're not really influencing anyone with your bus driving or your train driving, you're not really
Yes.
influencing anyone with your train driving. So I can't see why
Mm,
how that would affect your
mm.
role. But again, it's up to you to
I
navigate.
mean, I think that
Um,
there's kind of two things. One, acceptance of the law, which is
mhm,
fine, but then there's acceptance of the issue itself. Like,
mhm.
all right, if whatever's got to be taught in schools and that's going to happen, then you say you have to. There's nothing you can do if you're a headmaster of a school. Then you have to teach whatever the
No,
education
and
department
that I don't
says.
agree with. That I don't agree with. I think that, like I said, there has to be a stance. It's like, for example,
Mm,
a parent might say, "Yeah, my kids are in school, and they're just given a letter saying that they're going to bring uh, what's it called?
transgender guy
Those
in to do
transgender
some
guys, yeah, to come
practical
read some book.
project thing. Yes.
Yeah. Then just say no, my kid's not attending that stuff. And if
Yes.
they want to put you through whatever they want to put you through, then it is what it is. I mean,
Mm,
that is now
mm,
next level of compliance. And I don't agree with. I don't agree in a compliance whereby it's like, okay,
mm,
well, there's nothing I can do about it. I'll just go along with it. That's
mm.
basically capitulation.
Yeah.
Just capitulating and saying, yeah, let them do and teach my kids whatever they want because I can't do anything about it. Yes, you can. You can homeschool, you can change school, you can do lots
Yes.
of things. It's not
Yeah.
something you can't. I don't believe that situation you cannot do anything about it. You definitely can.
Mm,
You just have to want
mm.
to.
Yeah. Okay, Sheikh, we've reached to an hour and a half. Jazakallah khairan. I mean, in summary, the fact that Muslims and other religious communities that don't agree with the secular viewpoint, it's getting difficult for them to hold their position. I think it's not just Muslims that are swimming against the current. A lot of people are, and do we have to make our own spaces and say, well, we don't agree as religious communities. It's our right to disagree with these moral edicts that you're trying to push into our schools. We do disagree and push back.
I mean,
Obviously,
I think
cordially, politely, not
yeah,
be.
yeah. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Hello, I can't hear you. I'm not sure if I'm live and I got cut off or brother got cut off. But anyway, so I'll just assume that the brother's cut off for some reason. Thanks for attending this lecture. Again, just to conclude what the brother was saying about the other organizations, I think it's beneficial if it could be beneficial to work with other religious groups to coordinate oneself as a part of resisting. But again, even in coordinating oneselves in our attempt at resistance, it should be understood that at any point the other groups and religions may take a stance which backfires on us. That's something we have to recognize and acknowledge. There's nothing wrong in coordinating ourselves with non-Muslims, with other sects and groups to resist a common enemy. Just like I had the Messenger of Allah sallallahu did the Hilf al-Fudul, the agreement with the non-Muslims to establish justice. There's nothing wrong in doing that, whilst being savvy as to the dangers involved in doing that and the difficulties in doing that. Anyway, thanks for attending this discussion. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
Okay. We just had a internet. My internet went down. Sorry about that. Okay, we're gonna finish the interview there. And listen, guys, if you've got any topics that you want us to discuss, send a message on our Facebook. Send us an email or our WhatsApp group. If you've got any topics that you want us to discuss, we'll be happy to discuss them. We're going to end it there. Jazakallah khairan for your participation. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.